Good day to you. This is Anagalactic bringing you another presentation in cosmic science. On the screen, filling up most of the screen except for my lovely face off to the side, is the great state of Utah and about half the state of Colorado, just a bit of Wyoming at the very top, and then Arizona and New Mexico beneath, and way off to the west as usual, about to sink into the sea, is California. Now, why would I show you this simple map of the western United States, a large chunk thereof, when actually what we had been talking about was divination? My goodness, divination? I thought I was running a science station. What's going on? Divination? Well, all that is, according to a recent awakening that I had, when you get into your 70s, you might start to have awakenings just because you've had plenty of time to think. And more to the point, more pointedly, you've had time to concentrate on certain aspects of what you've been thinking about. I think it's fair to say that we do progress in our mode of thinking and in the results of our thinking process. Well, that's actually quite profound. What are we doing thinking? Animals don't think. That's, of course, hotly debated. And animals don't have consciousness. Well, of course, that's hotly debated too. Of course, animals think. Monkeys can think. Monkeys have consciousness. It's obvious they have consciousness, right? No, it's not fucking obvious at all. You can argue for all eternity about that and never get anywhere. But why are you arguing about it? You might have some vested interest in the answer. If you're trying to train the children that they are monkeys and they have nothing to do with any superintelligence or anything to do with that mythological system of the Bible or Christianity or even being Jewish or or Islam, certainly not Islam, not anything to do with religion. You're out of your mind. You're crazy if you believe in God. You believe in Jesus, well, that's horrific. That means you're done, you're finished. They got you. Now you're a pansy. You believe in Jesus. You believe in the Buddha. What the hell happened to you? And then on the other side, oh my God, I don't know what happened to me. They got me. I was in a church. They made me eat crackers. I was talking about angels. My God, help me. Help. You're crying out and the scientists come, the good scientists from the government, your teachers, they're looking at you. They're trying to fix you. They want you to survive. Don't worry, kid, don't worry. Jesus got you. Oh my God, Muhammad got you. Oh, those fucking people from Israel, they got you. Oh, they had you. You were superstitious. You were doing divination. You were doing divination. You were reading the Bible. Oh my God, no. You poor child. They really tortured you. Well, now you're a monkey. You're a piece of dirt. There was no flood. There was no flood, huh? How much do you know about that subject? I know that you don't believe in the flood because it's a belief system and you're a government-trained scientist. Oh, lucky thee. Oh, poor little saps like me are just out of luck then. You're just going to go right around little dweebs like me, aren't you? Because you're Neil deGrasse Tyson. Yeah, I could call you a name if I wanted to, but you see, you have all the money. You have all the power. You're a big white boy now, aren't you, Neil deGrasse Tyson? And fucking half the Jews in America are paid by the government to be atheists. They're atheists, darling. Does that alarm you? Then run to Utah, because that's where the Mormons are. You see, what I'm trying to say is, if you're trying to get to California or Utah or Colorado or New Mexico, or you think something's in Idaho, Wyoming, Oregon, Washington State, Nevada, Mexico, Canada, some other continent, some other planet, some other universe. Why are you making this choice? Who's trying to deceive you? Why do you have to get to Mars? Why do you have to get to heaven? Why do you have to eat the cracker and drink the wine? Why do you have to worship the Pope? Why do you have to worship Muhammad? Why do you have to worship Jesus? Why do you have to worship the Buddha? Why do you have to worship anything? Oh, the white Western world is here to save you from that. Charles Darwin proved there is no God. Now you can drop the Bible, drop Jesus. Tell all the religious people in Utah to fuck themselves, that the Mormons are out of their goddamn minds. Let me ask you something. Is the universe expanding? Yeah, okay. So who's out of their mind? You see, you can't tell. There is no way on God's green earth that you can decide between these two systems of lies. It's all lies. The only truth that you will ever know is from your senses. Right? If that were true, there would be no need for divination. Who's right and who's wrong, Charlie? You tell me. You can't. Where is wisdom to be found? All right. That is, I wanted to keep that under 5 minutes to make the bracketing information, which these days very often sounds to me in review like a rant. Like I'm turning into Adolf Schicklgruber, and this is the only way I can talk now because I'm so emotionally charged. I confess that much. But being emotionally charged does not mean that you've lost all aspect on rationality. I've attempted to balance these two systems in my own life. I insist because I'm a scientist who's been thinking about this for a fuck of a long time. You're doing the same thing. You're trying to play two games to the middle. And so far you've been unsuccessful, because if you had ever become successful, either you would have dropped out of society or you'd be dead. So don't look at me and tell me that you have any answers at all, because you don't. How do I know that? Because nobody has ever had any answers. There aren't any answers. There are no answers that can be shared. So why am I out on YouTube? To do the impossible. But before I can do the impossible in sharing truth that you have to know, or you're going to not get the answer. I can't do that. I just told you. Nobody knows. Nobody knows what? You see, this is such an elusive prospect before us in life, both in science and in a higher category of human endeavor. Science is not the be-all and end-all of anything. It is hardly definable what it is. You can see the results, it's technology. Yeah, really, have you taken a close look at what technology has done for mankind? I'm sure you're well aware that you no longer can live without technology. Perhaps that was the goal of the universe or the ecology, or wherever you're investing intelligence that's not your own, because there was intelligence here before you arrived. Before you and I got here, there was plenty of intelligence. What about before the first human got here? Can it be proved that there was intelligence before that? To answer that question, you're going to have to use divination. You're going to have to divine the answer, and you're not going to be able to prove it. And even if you could, nobody ever will believe your fucking proof. Not even if you're Jesus Christ himself. Humans are absolutely impervious to wisdom. The fact that humans have consciousness is celebrated As if, you know, that made us important. Well, I don't think anybody can disagree at a certain level. But what has it done for humans? It's destroyed us, and it's destroyed the earth. About 2 million species are about to go extinct, including what has recently been called the highest order species. Human beings are now, in Western white science, called a species. Is that rational? Can you divine the answer to that? Because if you are raised in a theistic religion, then you know that your scientists are goddamned devil worshippers. Isn't that the final outcome? Well, those motherfuckers are billionaires, statistically. The white goddamn scientists, they're all white, who say that there's no God. Can you divine the answer to that? You probably, if you're born in America in my generation or later, there is no God. You would rather be drawn and quartered. You'd rather be waterboarded than to give in to those motherfucking pansies, the theists. You believe in God, it's because you haven't evolved yet. Well, what are you evolving into, child? Can you divine that? That's why I put divination at the top of the list, way above physics. Way above physics. Infinitely far removed from mathematics or geometry. The closest thing to divination, which drives a human, until that human gives up. You're not seeking wisdom anymore. You're not seeking answers. You've already found your fucking answer. You don't need a priest to butt rape you, and you don't need a scientist to turn you into a nigger. You don't want to be a nigger, and you don't want to be a butt boy for the Mormons. What do? You come of age, you're 16 and 17. The Mormons are saying to you, little man, you should have been a bishop by now. You should have been a missionary by now. How come you're not serving Joseph Smith? And they lay it down, Daddy-o. Where's your money? You're not supporting the church. You're worthless. You're a worthless fuck. Why don't you go join the fucking government with Satan? And they kick you out of Utah. I'm not saying this happened to me, but it did happen to people I know. You have to commit. You're either a scientist or you're a religious buffoon. From the point of view of the religion, whichever one you serve, from the Catholics all the way down to fucking fire dancers, you have a religion, then fuck science. When you hear someone like Neil deGrasse Tyson, Brian Greene, some Jew or some nigger talking about science, you condemn them to hell. You know that they're going to roast in eternal hellfire for all eternity, which is redundant. And these two sides face each other, and they fight over the children's souls. And you're born into that. That is who you are. You're an entity that has been fought over before you had any power to resist. And so you're either a religious freak or you're a Satan worshiper. There's no in between. Which one is right? How the hell are you going to figure it out when your parents couldn't figure it out? Your society, your culture, your peers, your ancestors, nobody figured it out. They're still trying to kill each other. So what the hell is going on? Well, it's time to get out the I Ching, or your fucking Ouija board, or become a mesmerist, or study psychology, or get into politics and cast your vote. Anything can happen to you. You have no idea where you are in the game. Not at the age of 10, you don't. And don't tell me you had figured everything out by the age of 10. Although then you'd have to believe maybe somebody did. Maybe Jesus turned water into wine when he was 17. Do you believe that? Why do you believe it? What possible use could that information have to you? Oh, the universe is expanding. There's an accretion disk around the supermassive black hole. You hear all this crazy stuff. There's mini worlds. There's multiverses. Everything is conscious. The universe is learning from us. And it just sounds like conspiracy theory. Well, that's what your scientists are giving you. Is that rational? They swear to God that it's rational, except for a strange twist of fate. They don't believe in God. You can't be a scientist and believe in God. Is that true? How are you going to know, even just for yourself, unable to prove it to anyone else? Because one thing history has taught us about the mind of man, you can't convince people of anything. They will simply flip you off. People are impervious to wisdom. And if you're a Catholic, you're one of the hundreds of millions of Catholics, you'll die that way. You will die at that level of ignorance. Maybe it's great for you. Maybe you're flipping off everybody else. I worship the Pope. I worship the cracker. I'm out of my fucking mind. And I go to the church to make myself feel better. Because my peers are watching me. My family is watching me. If I don't bow to the Pope and worship Paul and Peter and Mary and Christopher and all the other saints and give my fucking money to the church, then I'm not saved. I'll be kicked out. I'll be ostracized. I will have to go on a sea voyage. But if you're a scientist, the government pays you to lie. Oh, well, then it's not lying. If you're being paid to lie, it's not a lie because you have to get money. Oh, you want to be homeless? You want to be in debt? You want to be kicked out of your house and live in the street? You want to die dirty, filthy, and raving out of your mind. That's what happens if you don't make it to be a scientist. If you don't make it to be a saint, you go to hell and roast in eternal brimstone. So you're either going to be a liar or you're going to hell. These two contradict each other. What are the scientists telling you? There's no hope. There's no faith. Love has nothing to do with anything. What do the religious people say? There was a flood and Noah built a boat and all the animals got on it, and then the flood subsided and all the animals jumped off and they magically turned into the present day 2 million species. The scientists will have you for lunch. But you see, it works both ways. These sides can't get along. They hate each other. These sides want each other dead. And if they can't actually kill the other side, scientist versus saint. Scientist versus saint. The scientists say, we will murder you. If you keep talking to the children about God, we'll kill you. If you keep trying to brainwash the children with your ancient superstition about goddamned illogical biblical religion, we will punish you for that, you asshole. But if you get a religious leader like the Pope, fuck, it's worse. Which is worse? You tell me. Leave a comment. Which one is the way? Oh, just believe in Jesus. You can't. Well, just believe in rational logic. You can't. There is no answer. So it's a game. But it's the strangest game. There are no rules. There are no rules. There is no such thing as morality in science. Hitler was a scientist. He was methodically trying to exterminate an entire... It wasn't just the Yehudi. He was after people who were in poor mental health or not quite, maybe retarded, maybe schizo, euthanize, kill them. Kill them! Hitler was just being a scientist. He had no emotional commitment to murdering 6 million people or more. Why would any man do that? No. He did it because he thought he had to. It was logical. Was it? Is mass murder logical? If you're a scientist, I don't care how you hypocritize your own fucking duplicity, but if you're a scientist, you don't give a fuck about morality. The United States is proving that right now. It's just about to invade Iran. Well, this is the story since the beginning of time. Oh yeah, now you've brought up a question. Yeah, what exactly do you mean by the beginning of time? That's just an expression, but what does it mean? Where did this originate? What is this? Nobody even knows what this is. If you're born in the United States, it's all about the white race. The blacks and the browns, which is 85% of all people, they will be exterminated. That's going to be the result. If China wins, everybody except the Chinese are going to be gone. If Israel wins, there won't be anybody left except Jews. After a while, if the United States wins, there will be nothing but Barney and rubble. I always say that, Barney and rubble. Fred Flintstone and Barney Rubble, the two cavemen that I was raised to look at with their pet dinosaur, for fuck's sake. What the hell happened to me? What happened in this country? What kind of education did I get? Oh, you're enlightened. I'm an enlightened little white boy. Is that right? No, you have to start doing divination, and the sooner the better. You get out your astrological charts, you plot your sun sign, you find out where all the planets are in all the houses of the sun, you do geometric computations, you do mathematical computations, you're basing it loosely on physics. Those planets are there, those houses can be proved to exist. You start doing divination. You start looking for wisdom because humans obviously can't supply it. There's no priest, there's no guru, there's no leader, there is nowhere to go to get orientation in life. Nowhere. Or you're going to end up in Utah and you're going to struggle to be a saint for the church. If you go the other way, and it's the only other way, you'll work for the government and serve the dragon until you're consumed in hell. And those are your only two choices. You're going to be a butt boy for Joseph Smith's descendants, or you're going to be a butt boy for the unfeeling government. One or the other. Now you're at bar mitzvah, it's puberty, you had a squirt, it's time for you to decide. Are you going to try to be a saint, or are you going to try to be a scientist? Which is it? Decide now! No wonder people are confused. No wonder they play shitty music in this country. No wonder their sexual identity has gone into la la land. No wonder there's no culture. No wonder everybody's drunk or stoned and everybody has their goddamn cell phone pressed to their ear because their lives are over. They are robots. You ask anybody on the street. I'd love to do a poll with our local newspaper here. Just ask people. Just read it. Hey, would you mind? Oh, no, yeah. What's your question? Yeah, let me help out. Have you achieved your life goals? What's going to happen to you after you die? Are you ready for death? I don't know what would happen. I don't know if people just go, what the fuck? What are you, a communist? And just run. No, stay away from These idiots, they're asking about life after death. They're not on our side. They must be Iranian. They're probably Islam. What the fuck is going on? And now there's a fight. There's a fight because you stepped in the wrong direction. What do you think about the flood? Whoa! Holy fuck! You goddamn Mormon. You fucking Jehovah's Witness. What the fuck? The flood? The flood? You mean Noah's flood? You believe in Noah? Oh, and in the other direction, all the beloved church elders are talking about the Book of Mormon and Lemhi and Moron I, and they just know all the angels. They're so happy. They're talking about angels on a pinhead. What did Joseph Smith do to wipe his ass? How could we improve our lives? By the prophecies of Joseph Smith on gold plates from heaven, and of all places, Missouri, where I was born, and then he went to Utah and tried to start his own country. And Utah is still there, and by God, they're pretty much their own country, all right. Let's take another look, just to remind you, just what is Utah again? It's basically the center of this, where there is a lake. I think you can see a lake there. That is the Great Salt Lake. How did it get there? That's a scientific question. Well, over on the other side of this divide here, where you see a big yellow area, do you know what that is? That is a former lake. It's actually the drainage system of the Colorado River. That yellow area is the Colorado River Basin. Now down here is a purplish area or magenta, and you see that this river flows right out, and that's Lake Mead, that's Hoover Dam. Right here at the bottom, in a dark blue line going from west to east, actually it's traveling east to west in water flow, that is the Grand Canyon. Can you explain that? Well, your scientists cannot. But they've tried, and what did they say? Millions of years ago. That's it. That's the government message when you go to the Grand Canyon. There's Ranger Rick. He's wearing a Boy Scout Marines outfit with United States just printed all over it. And he's smiling, and he's friendly. And you've been trained in school to trust Ranger Rick. And he's going to tell you, before you can figure it out for yourself or guess, he's going to tell you. Millions of years. Now go have fun. He's done his job. Well, that's a religion. It's a state-enforced religion. What he's there to tell you is, don't believe your Mormon butt boys. Don't believe you're fucking Christians. Don't believe anybody who says that there's some kind of flood, because there was no flood in human history. That flood occurred way back, because it has been discovered. There was a flood. It was discovered in my lifetime. An ecocidal flood. You'll find that in Wikipedia. Wikipedia has the article proving that Walter Alvarez, the son of Luis Alvarez, the Nobel Prize winning physicist, that man's son, Louis' son, Walter, discovered the source of the flood. Do you know that? I know that you don't. How is it that you can watch science presentations? I wonder if the universe is bouncing, or if it's expanding, if it's accelerating, or if it's decelerating. Well, a black hole is inside out physics. Time goes backwards. There's a parallel universe that splits into multiverses. There are many worlds depending on who's looking at the moon. Then the moon exists for as long as you're looking at it, but as soon as everybody looks away, the moon just disappears until someone looks again, and there it is again. And these are your physicists. They're shamans. They're superstitious. just as they accuse of any religious person of being just a jackass, just out of his fucking mind, and there is no in-between. Oh, you believe in Noah's flood. The door shuts. Those faces may still be looking at you, but as soon as they hear, oh, he's been boned in the fanny by the goddamn religious people. We lost him. And no more communication for you. Unless it's just brainwashing to get you out of that system and into the right one, where you serve the devil directly. But you make money, you survive. Well, Darwin said, it's survival of the fittest. Well, who is the fittest? The whites are the fittest. So it's racism all over again. We say, well, I'm just going to ignore that part because I need to make a living. That's what I did. I know it's what you did, because if I did it, you did it too. And don't tell me you didn't. You see, but you might though. Oh, I'm not going to give in to anything he says. That's normal. You're impervious to outside influence because you've already done your divination. You're done divining. You're done looking for answers. You have closed the door on all the answers that are either out of reach or you don't want them or you figured it out some other way. And you're done. And that's the normal state of an American white, is you're not listening to anybody because you had to figure it out yourself. You got no answers, and so you're just going to remain an idiot and try to be happy. Listen to the music, grab your puppy, tongue kiss with your puppy. Oh, you're fine. You have a different sexual identity. Not to worry. The government now approves of that. What the hell is going on? You have to do divination. You have no choice. What does that have to do with the Colorado Plateau? The flood. This diagram proves that there was a flood less than 10,000 years ago. Well, now you know that I'm out of my fucking mind, right? Only a pansy would say that, correct? Nobody believes in the biblical flood. Science says you can't, or you're superstitious. Is that true? Well, one form of divination is called science, and that's the last three items listed here. Geometry, mathematics, and physics. That's the province of rational logic using measurements on the universe. That's science. What's it for? What's it for? I think you could answer in two ways. It's for technology. It's to have electricity, engines, get to the moon, get to Mars, then go to the stars, and if there are aliens, we'll find them. I honestly believe that that's what most Americans trust in. Technology, whatever is happening with God and the angels and prophets and whatever people are dancing around on the surface of the earth, just, we're going to worship today. We have special rules of worship so we can consult the God or gods or the angels or the devils. That's what we do. We don't give a fuck about rational logic. That's most of history, right? Yeah. And now the white scientists have arisen within the last 2 centuries to answer the problems of humanity with a new religion that simply will not tolerate any other religion. That's the beginning of the book of Revelation. One of the 3 books here highlighted the Quran, which was written by Muhammad 1,300 years ago. Although he didn't write it, the companions who were with him, basically disciples, they wrote it down for him. He did know how to write. He wrote letters. He was well educated enough, although he says on his own recognizance, I am an uneducated man. Sounds like that's what I would say as a prophet. I am more brutish than any man. I'm quoting from Proverbs. And I was unable to attain to wisdom. And then he says one of the most amazing things I've ever heard say in or out of the Bible. This is in one of the wisdom books called the Book of Proverbs, part of the Israeli canon called the Tanakh, inherited by the Christians and fully revered by the Mohammedans. The Islam people trust the entire Bible, except they're also rational. And so they don't accept anything that the Jews say. And they do not accept anything that the Christians say. Why not? If they believe in the Bible and they believe in Yeshua, and they definitely do, why do they not believe anything that the Christians or the Jews say? Because they can see that the Christians and Jews are hypocrites. Are the Islam people hypocrites? That's up to you to decide. But they have already decided that Christianity is poison. Why? Are they denying Christ? No. They're denying false Christianity. There is no Trinity and Jesus is not divine. That's what they say. I agree with them because they're being rational. They're trying to believe in a rational creator, and God does not have children. Muhammad said that. He says it over and over and over again in the Quran. If you try to match somebody with God, if you say that he has a son, you are not going to be acceptable to Allah, because Allah has no peers. You can't compare Allah, that is what a Westerner would say God. You cannot compare that entity with anything in the creation. And so the Christians, who by the way were false Christians, Muhammad met some of them right from Byzantium. It's in one of the surah, and the companions witnessed this. Muhammad actually had a debate with a team of early Catholics who basically said, it's all about the Trinity. Oh, what's that? What is that new thing? We desert Arabians have never heard of a Trinity. We've heard of Allah, we've heard of Yeshua, but what's this Trinity? Oh, Yeshua is God. That's where they draw the line. You're an infidel. You have not yet achieved the baseline of what it means to be a rational human, because you worship a man. How are you going to resolve that if you already believe in Yeshua? And now you're faced with a group, about 2 billion living Islam people will never bow the knee to Yeshua, except as a prophet. The same way they bow the knee to Muhammad, which they do, which in context is reasonable. He's a prophet. He deserves respect. Did Muhammad say that Yeshua was a prophet? Of course he did. Muhammad never said anything against the truth that I've ever found. So why do I have the Quran and the book of Enoch, the oldest book in the world, and the book of Revelation, the last book of prophecy in the Israeli transmission? The man who wrote that was a bona fide Shemitic Jew. His name was Johann, and he was on the island of Patmos when he was visited by an angel. About 300 years later, after the birth of Christ, as we measure what's now called CE time, Christian era time, used to be called AD, Anno Domini. They mean the same thing, but it's dating history around a point of orientation, the birth of Christ, as closely as that could be guessed. So about 300 years after Yeshua's mission had been accomplished, he went back to heaven because he had been murdered and dejected. So he left. And so Yeshua is gone. He went back to heaven. Muhammad came along between 300 and 400 years later and continued prophesying according to what the angel told him to say. And the angel told him just enough about Yeshua to be able to refute the Byzantians. Constantinople, that later became Rome, that dominated the European subcontinent for very close to 2,000 years with one of the worst forms of tyranny among countless tyrannies on earth, in the name of Christ, to wipe out the true Christians. That was Catholicism. Now, all these people who just go to church on Sunday and eat the cracker and smell the incense and try to be religious, they're the descendants of the murderers of Christ. Okay, does that mean that they're damned? No. Why? Because nobody inherits the sins of their ancestors. That's up to you. And the cat is here to say, Scotty, it's time for you to rest. I'm your cat. It's my job to take care of my boy. And here she is. Look into the camera, honey. You see, everybody wants to see the beautiful cat. She is so camera shy, but, oh, come on. She's saying, Scotty, I've heard you get like this. I love my boy and I don't want to see you suffer. It's time for you to take a break. So we are going to take a break now because my cat is beckoning me. But we are now in a series on divination, the study of guts, the study of bird entrails, dropping of arrows so you can decide which way to guide your army, because for the love of God, you can't figure out which way to turn right now. So you ask Kevin, you kill some animals, you do some sacrifices, you do some chants, some incantations, you pray for guidance, and a stone turns a certain color, or the fire does a certain thing. You go to the witch lady, she's like, you'd better go to the left, not the right. Okay, and then you do it. Maybe you win, maybe you lose. Divination. Who's right? The atheist scientists or the pansy religionists? Do you want to be a pansy or do you want to be a devil worshiper? Those are your only two choices. Pansy or demon. Are those the only choices? No. There's Islam. And that's enough. Thank you for tuning in. We'll be right back today with more on divination, which is the meaning of consciousness. And I'll prove that to you so that you'll finally know how to orient your life. You're going to have to toss coins. You're going to have to deal the cards. You're going to have to learn the game. It's going to be horrendous. You're going to lose your mind. You'll probably need LSD or psilocybin or something just to reorient. But that's what we're doing. Science is hopeless and helpless. Science has lost its way. So is religion. In Islam, both are recovered. The world's first rational religion. And I am now the Imam. Stay tuned, keep looking up. We'll be right back. Thank you.